bit. And joining me now to discuss this and go in depth on the issue is Ray Flynn, the former mayor of Boston and a former ambassador to the Holy See. Thank you for joining us, sir.
It's great to be with you, John. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you with us. Of course, Ray, some people were surprised by this announcement coming out of the Synod, but at the same time, it's pretty consistent with what we've heard from Pope Francis in the past.
It really is, John, when you think about it, and quite frankly, it is very healthy. It's a very important, healthy debate. The Boston Herald has been covering it extensively. Joe Fitzgerald had a nice article on it today. I had an article on it yesterday. It's the debate, John, that is really generating a lot of interest, a lot of response. And it was brought about principally when Pope Francis, a friend of mine, when he said, "Who am I to judge?" I think Pope Francis has now emerged as the servant-in-chief rather than the judge, the chief judge. And I think that's what people are looking for, that kind of forgiveness, that kind of openness, not changing the doctrine of the Catholic Church, which I support strongly, but changing the tone so people who have left the church or fallen away feel comfortable returning to the church because, you know, it's good for them, it's good for the church, it's good for society to have more people, as many people as we can, really engaged in this religious, moral debate that's taking place at the Vatican at this very moment.
So more or less, maybe not a change in doctrine, but maybe a bigger change in the presentation of the doctrine.
Yeah, that's right. And that's healthy, John, because of the fact that when people feel that their decisions about that which affect their life, whether you divorce Catholics or whatever it is, if they feel that their voice is not heard, that's not respected, not understood, you know, there's a certain alienation that takes place. I've been in politics 50 years. And the last thing you want to do is, even though you have strong convictions and strong beliefs and values, don't turn everybody off. Have a seat at the table for them to at least hear what they have to say. And then ultimately, of course, the church is going to make the final ultimate decision. But in the analysis of respect and openness and inclusiveness, at least let everybody have a voice in those issues that impact their lives. And quite frankly, these are great people. These are good people. They're not bad people. They just need an opportunity to be heard. And I think the Pope is doing exactly that. And the more inclusiveness, the more openness, and what you're doing here on TV, giving voice to this important issue, I think it's healthy for the church. It's healthy for society.
Is it kind of like the Vatican's version of "Don't Ask, Don't Tell"?
No, it's not like that so much, John, as it is that, you know, we want to have this openness, this inclusiveness. Now, Pope Francis, who I've known, this is the way he is. I mean, can you imagine going to church, going to work as Archbishop of Buenos Aires on a bus, on the MBTA, on the public transportation, listening to people, hearing what they have to say? This is not some PR stunt. This is not about style. This is about what he believes. And frankly, I think we need more inclusiveness, more outreach to people, even though it's not going to result in a doctrinal change, but it's going to result in more respect for people's opinion, people who are on the front lines, who raise the children, who support the church, and those are the people we need to hear from. Give them a voice in those issues that affect their lives, their faith that they love, and our society.
Of course, not everybody agrees with that. And back in July, Pope Francis said, "Who am I to judge gay people?" We talked about that in the onset. And then we have this yesterday from Cardinal Raymond Burke. Let's take a listen. I'll get your reaction.
If homosexual relations are intrinsically disordered, which indeed they are, and reason teaches us that, and also our faith, then what would it mean to grandchildren to have present at a family gathering a family member who is living a disordered relationship with another person?
Well, that seems to be, at least to me, Mr. Flynn, a big difference between what the Pope is saying and what Cardinal Burke is saying.
Well, I know Cardinal Burke very well. I have a high respect for him, in fact. I don't think Cardinal Burke, and I don't want to quote him, but I don't think he's making that same analogy at the table with children. I don't think if there were a member of your family who were a homosexual, I don't think they'd say, leave the room here because we don't want you recognized here. We don't want to hear what you have to say, even though there are children around. That's not the society that we're living in. Frankly, I don't even believe that's the church that I love. But I think Christ would want everybody to have an opinion, even though then we make the decision as to what is best for the person, for their soul, for their ultimate joy of going to heaven. And I think that's what Cardinal Burke is saying. That's certainly what Pope Francis is saying. And I think, quite frankly, humble Catholics, simple Catholics like myself, I think that's what most of us believe.
Fair enough. And, of course, this would not be the first time that the church has repositioned its message more than its doctrine to be more open and appealing to a bigger audience of folks.
John, that's a good thing. That's healthy. That's what it's all about. Give people a voice so that they feel part of the church, not just outside the church. That's
exactly true. And as someone who goes to church on not quite as regularly as my mom would like, but on a fairly regular basis, I do think you feel that coming from this Pope. Even if folks aren't going to join the Catholic Church, there is at least a change in perception as to who's in charge of the church. Fair enough?
Well, Christ is in charge of the church, and the people also have a voice in the church as well. The church is the people.
Well, important distinction there, and I meant who's in charge of the church on earth. We should clarify there. But Ray Flynn, former mayor of Boston, also a former ambassador to the Holy See. Sir, thank you very much for your time. Always great to get your insight on these issues. Catholic Church, the message is changing. Doctrine not necessarily changing, according to Ambassador Flynn. Thank you so much, sir.
Sure.
All right, of course, we're going to continue to talk about this issue, some of the other main issues taking place today. We're keeping our eye on what's going on over in Iraq with ISIS and the prospects of the spreading Ebola virus. We'll get an update on all of that coming up real quickly in just a few moments with the Newsmax Now updates. We'll also have some more interviews in Insight. I'm John Bachman, sitting in for J.D. Hayworth. We're back here on America's Forum after another Newsmax Now update.